Patty. Well, that was it. That was the UFC stress test. This was a card that was supposed to be, it needed to feel like an inevitable changing of the guard, polished, confident, historic even. Instead, it was brittle. We had a weigh-in collapse. We had unexplained fight cancellations. We had a co-main event disappear from the card before fight week due to severe injury to the women's bantamweight champion. We had a main event that many fans and fighters openly criticized as underwhelming for the moment that it was supposed to represent. None of these things are unprecedented. The UFC has always dealt with chaos, but context is what matters. And when you're asking fighters, when you're asking the viewer, the actual MMA consumer, to trust a new system, you're asking them to accept this like new model, when you're asking them, the public, to believe in this so-called progress. The debut cannot feel like second, like it cannot feel like this, not improvised, not thrown together last minute. This did not feel like a launch. It felt like a rehearsal, and at the same time the UFC has been everywhere. CBS promotions, award show appearances, that cross network synergy. We've seen the fighters on stage at the Golden Globes that had nothing, award show that had nothing to do with fighting. This is a real shift where they're going to try to really bring the UFC into like international culture, but it just isn't that, right? Like it's a niche thing and it should belong in a niche place. It's already more homogenized than it's ever been. And yeah, the UFC is not selling their fighters anymore. It's selling their platform value. That's what it is. The fighters are not the stars. The platform is the star. The fighters are the justification for the platform. And this deal kicks this off, right? Like Paramount raised the stakes for themselves as far as, what they had to shell out, and the consumer as far as what they have to pay on the like up front, do like they do get a lot, like it's cheaper, right? But it's a massive bait and switch because of all the advertising and all the propaganda that it's going to be shoved down people's throats. And that's the part that's not confusing here, right? Like someone has to pay $7.7 billion. It was just not going to be the UFC. And this isn't why, there was analysts that had been calling that deal a complete gamble, if not shady, because the UFC is a risky business. It's niche. And streaming economics demand endless growth, and when growth stalls like it has been since the end of the like pandemic era, costs don't get cut at the executive level, they get downstream, and labor becomes interchangeable and content becomes filler, and the risk for these companies and like everything else, right? It just gets externalized and it gets put off to the consumer and it gets put off to the actual worker. And in combat sports, that risk has a name. It's a fighter, right? And so, what does this actually even teach us? Like the UFC 324, it teaches us that revenue growth does not mean redistribution. It taught us that transparency is not coming with this new model. We don't even know why the Michael Johnson Alex Hernandez fight got taken off. We suspect that it was potentially because of Hernandez having an injury that he didn't disclose, that then became disclosed, and betting odds got out on it, and there was some massive inside information essentially that once again tainted a lot of what we saw tonight as far as the betting product and the legitimacy of what used to be a highly regulated sport that is now just becoming completely privatized under the umbrella of Zuffa and Endeavor. It taught us that. It taught us that fighters and the consumer are being asked to absorb more, with the fighters in case risk, with less leverage, and with the consumer's case, you're being asked to absorb more commercialization, more. You can't even see the walkouts anymore. you're just seeing, ads constantly, ads and what will eventually be statecraft propaganda. It taught us that the spectacle has shifted away from the cage and towards the balance sheet, which we already all knew, right? And this is not the future of MMA. It's a story that we've known for a very long time. It's that what it is a future of labor under this new type of model in entertainment, and basically in a lot of the new industry, right, that's attached to tech and entertainment. When the money gets bigger, the fighter, the worker does not. The violence gets cheaper. The product that's being consumed gets cheaper to create, and the money that's being sold for it gets greater and greater, but the worker sees less and less in that. And this is the model going forward. Awareness isn't going to just change this. And this event, UFC 324, is not going to be remembered as a debut of any sorts. It's going to be remembered as a warning shot for both the consumer and the fighter and the roster guys on the UFC, guys and girls on the UFC roster. That's what it is. It's a warning shot. It's essentially it.